The night she said it, her voice was calm, too calm. "I just want to be alone for a while," my wife said, folding her arms like she was closing a door, not starting a conversation. I waited for the rest. An explanation. A reason. Something human. Nothing came. We had been married 9 years. 9 years of routines, shared bills, shared jokes, shared silence. And suddenly, she wanted to be alone, while still living in the same house, sleeping in the same bed, existing in the same life. I asked the obvious question. "Alone? How?" She avoided my eyes. "I need space, emotionally, mentally. Don't make this difficult." That sentence told me everything she didn't say out loud. I didn't beg. I didn't argue. I nodded and went to the guest room that night. I told myself it was temporary. People go through phases. Marriages stretch and bend. But space has a way of expanding. Days turned into weeks. She stopped asking where I was going, stopped updating me about her day. Her phone never left her hand, but she never looked at me while holding it. If I tried to talk, she'd sigh, like my voice itself exhausted her. "I told you I need space," she'd say. "Why can't you respect that?" So I did. I stopped talking. Not out of anger, out of clarity. I stopped asking how her day was, stopped checking in, stopped explaining myself. I cooked my own meals, did my own laundry, lived like a polite roommate who had learned the rules of the house. At first, she didn't notice. That hurt more than anything. She came home late some nights, humming, lighter than she'd been in months. She smiled at her phone. She laughed in the bathroom with the door locked. When I passed her in the hallway, she barely looked up. Then one night, I overheard her on the phone. "I told him I needed space," she whispered, amused. "He's being so quiet now. It's actually convenient." Convenient. I stood frozen in the dark, realizing I wasn't a husband anymore. I was an obstacle she had successfully minimized. A week later, I noticed new clothes in her closet, dresses she never wore for me, perfume she hadn't touched in years. She started working late twice a week. Still, I said nothing. Silence can be louder than accusations. One evening, she finally cracked. "Why are you acting like this?" she snapped as I washed my own plate. "You don't talk, you don't ask questions, you don't even care anymore." I looked at her then. Really looked. "You asked to be alone," I said calmly. I listened. She scoffed. "That's not what I meant." Of course not. She meant distance without consequences, freedom without loss, a husband on pause. That night she didn't come home. I slept deeply for the first time in months. The next morning, I found the proof, not because I snooped, but because she stopped hiding. A message popped up on the shared tablet she forgot to log out of. "Last night was amazing. Can't wait to have you to myself again." I didn't feel rage. I felt relief. Now everything made sense. I didn't confront her. I didn't screenshot. I didn't shout or cry or demand answers. I just made decisions. I spoke to a lawyer, quietly, efficiently. I gathered documents she never knew I handled. I separated finances she assumed were shared forever. I planned an exit that didn't require permission. When she finally noticed, really noticed, it was too late. She tried to talk one morning, blocking the doorway. "We need to communicate," she said. "This silence is toxic." I smiled faintly. "You wanted to be alone." I just went a step further. That's when fear crossed her face. She started trying again, cooking dinner, asking questions, touching my arm like she remembered it existed. She cried one night, saying she felt lonely. I didn't comfort her. Loneliness had been her choice. The day I moved out, she stood in the doorway, stunned. "You're just leaving?" she asked. "Without a fight?" "I fought," I said softly. "You just weren't paying attention." Weeks later, she called, then texted, then begged. Said the affair meant nothing, said she made a mistake, said she missed the way I used to talk to her. I never responded, because the moment she asked to be alone, and I truly gave it to her, I realized something important. Silence isn't punishment, it's acceptance. And once I accepted that I wasn't wanted, I stopped offering myself to someone who only loved me when it was convenient.